For months on this show, we've been covering the heated fight over who should get the billions of dollars of Afghan assets currently being held by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Well, that fight is by no means over. In the past few weeks, groups of Afghan exiles have hired lawyers in an effort to appeal to the federal judge overseeing the case. They filed legal briefs presenting their case to Judge George Daniels, who they hope will reject efforts by relatives of 9/11 victims to seize half of the $7 billion in frozen Afghan assets. You may remember that in February, President Joe Biden signed an executive order that allowed half of the money, $3.5 billion, to be sought by 9/11 victims as part of an old 9/11-related lawsuit. The other half, according to Biden's order, would be kept aside for aid assistance in Afghanistan, but would still not be returned to that country's central bank. In a court filing by Nasir Faik, the Afghan government's new envoy to the UN, he says, quote, it fully supports, quote, compensation for the victims of the Taliban, but that compensation cannot come from the Afghan people who are neither morally nor legally responsible for the tragic events of September the 11th, 2001. He and his lawyers are making a clear legal case in favor of releasing the funds. Remember, this isn't just a fight over money. Millions of Afghan lives are on the line right now. The country is still battling a devastating humanitarian crisis. Afghanistan now has the highest number of people in emergency food insecurity in the world, according to the UN. In layman's terms, they are starving. Just last week, Save the Children found that almost 10 million Afghan children, more than the population of all of New York City, don't have enough food on a daily basis. Almost 50% of the population is still going hungry and needs urgent support to survive, they found. Last month, independent UN experts called out the US government for making the situation worse by withholding those critical funds, especially for women and children. Quoting from their statement, quote, while gender-based violence has been a long-standing and severe threat to women and girls, it has been exacerbated by the measures imposed by the US. The United States government called those claims by the 14 independent experts inaccurate. So, for the Afghan people, where does the fight go next? Are they hopeful the judge will rule in their favor? Joining me now to discuss all this is Nasir Faik, the current Afghan envoy to the UN and someone who filed a recent appeal to the court to not hand over the Afghan assets to 9/11 victims. He's been with the country's UN mission since before the Taliban takeover and does not represent the Taliban. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Let me start by asking you, why did you hire an attorney and submit a legal briefing last month? Are you hopeful this legal approach to securing the $7 billion in assets could work?
Thank you, Mehdi. As you know, this is as the only person who is working at the UN and representing the national interests of Afghan people. I felt my obligation to present the interest of Afghan people in this case. The saying of Afghan people was missing, and the people who deserve to be supported in these difficult times, who are faced with with a dire humanitarian situation and economic problems right now. So that's why I feel obliged to hire a counsel and file.
Are you saying that all $7 billion should go back to the Afghan central bank right away? Because there is concern, as you know, that the money might fall into the wrong hands, into the Taliban's hands. How much independence does that bank in Afghanistan have right now?
Well, the Central Bank of Afghanistan is a state bank which holds the reserves of Afghan assets in New York, and that does not belong to the Taliban, because the Taliban has not been recognized by the United States or by the UN or any other country. So the money that is there, it is for the people of Afghanistan. The money is the assets of ordinary people. And we are now fighting to save this money. And later, we will, once we save this money, we are grateful for the statement that was made by the Biden administration about blocking these assets in order to not let it should be used by the Taliban or other terrorist groups.
You mentioned the Biden administration. Have you or other Afghans you know been able to speak with anyone senior in the administration about this ongoing battle of yours? Do you believe the Biden administration, as some Afghans believe, is responsible, directly or indirectly, for the humanitarian catastrophe in your country right now by supporting this freeze?
Through my statements at the UN Security Council, I have made this clear that the people of Afghanistan deserve humanitarian support, and we should not use the sanctions politically against the people who have been victims of terrorism for the past 20 years. And I fully support that the victims of 9/11 families, they deserve compensation and justice. And likewise, the Afghan people also deserve justice, and their money should be used for their benefit. And the Biden administration made it clear in their statement, and that's the good point. And we are fighting.
But just to be clear, I just want to get your clear sense of this, because we've had Afghan guests on this show who have said to me that they believe the Biden administration is complicit in the starvation that's going on in their country. Is that a view you share?
Well, this is a very complicated situation about Afghanistan. The conflict has been going on in Afghanistan. Afghan people has been victim of the war against terrorism, and also they have been in a situation. The war has been imposed on them, and they deserve justice and compensation. But the situation today is very complicated because the international community, the United States, invested with blood and treasure for the past 20 years in Afghanistan. And today we see that all these investments are going in vain. And we are back in the square one. And we are fighting to save the past 20 years progress and gains in Afghanistan.
Okay. And just to clarify, we're out of time, but I need to ask this last quick question. You obviously don't represent the Taliban who are in power in Afghanistan. You say, I believe, you don't represent the old Ashraf Ghani government either. So who do you represent right now at the UN?
I represent the state of Afghanistan as a country, the people, the interest, the flag, and the national constitution of Afghanistan, the past 20 years achievements that was made by the people of Afghanistan and international community. And I do not represent Taliban and nor the former regime, the President Ashraf Ghani's